What is good, everyone? Welcome to the Expand Podcast. I'm so fired up for our guest today, Daniel Gomez. Daniel Gomez is a motivational speaker, executive trainer, executive coach. He pours into, shares strategies, tactics, and more importantly, mindset, motivation, beliefs that he can impart into his clients. He's got an incredible business. Super excited to have Daniel join us today. Daniel, welcome to the show.
There's no deal like a band deal. Man, I'm here on the Band Deal Expand podcast. Nowhere else I'd better be, brother. So thank you so much for having me, man. I'm excited to add value to your community. And I just had a great time at your event. So, man, I said, you're somebody that I definitely want to support and make time for. So thank you for having me on your show, Ben.
Yeah, man, absolutely. I'm grateful. One, honor you for your time coming out to the Expand event. It was incredible. And one of the biggest goals and one of my kind of focuses was, hey, I just want to get the right people in the room for connections just like this to happen. So one, I'm grateful for you, honor you, your time. You came in from outside of Houston and San Antonio, where you're based. And if you could right now, just kind of, would you give us a little background on who you are, what you do, where you've been spending your time?
Man, well, Daniel Gomez Inspires is my brand. And that's when I came out of speaking, professional speaker by trade. That was my first actual full-time business. But in the front of that is I'm a person who values people. You see, one thing that I didn't realize, my wife was diagnosed with breast cancer 5 years ago in 2017. You got the Corvette, you got the Rolexes, you got the Mont Blanc pens and all these things. You got the title. And then sometimes we get into entitlement. We don't even realize it, Ben. And when I got the phone call from my wife and I couldn't even understand what she was saying, I just said, hey, slow down. And all I heard was the word breast cancer come through the phone. And I'll tell you what, God has a way of getting your attention, man. And at that moment, I just had the first time in my life where my title, my money, and my success wasn't going to save me. I really had to rely on my faith and didn't have the answers. But by God's grace, my wife decided to have a double mastectomy. She's alive here, cancer-free 5.5 years later. In that process, she got depressed on me. So what I ended up doing was resigning from the automotive industry, made a ton of money, over millions of dollars just running automotive dealerships for many years. And the next thing you know, it's like I'm getting ready to go back because I left my gig to take care of her, because I didn't realize this at the time. 80% of men leave their wives when they're diagnosed with breast cancer.
Wow.
And I start getting ready, put on my tie. I was a suit and tie guy for many years. And the next thing you know, I just hear this whisper says, nope, no more automotive for you. You're going to become a motivational speaker. And people laughed at me. People mocked me. People thought I was crazy, right? Because I was making 200 to 250,000 a year in the automotive industry. I walked away from that to take care of my wife, and God says, no, you're not going to go back. Against that, I took a job, went for a day, and I hated it because it wasn't for me anymore. And my wife, just the loving, beautiful woman she is, by this time, she had already had 2 major surgeries. She goes, how was your first day? I said, it sucked. She goes, no, it's just, what's wrong? I was like, I can't explain it, because everybody knew me as, right, I was a car dog for almost 20 years. I mean, I still wear my Chevrolet ring because that's who I was at my core. I mean, I was a selling machine. I was a closing machine. I just loved the automotive industry. Had 100 employees for many years, and God took away that desire. And he goes, I want you to go speak, son. I told you. And I was just crazy enough to believe it, Ben. And people laughed. They really did laugh at me. And of course, people want to say, I support you, Ben. I support you, Daniel. Of course. But behind you, they're saying, how stupid is he? Well, 5.5 years later, I shared the stage with John Maxwell. I've spoken on stage with Les Brown. I've spoken all over the world. We built a multi-million-dollar corporation, right? And we've been able to impact businesses. And my big breakthrough came when God opened up the door. And I say God because God is my CEO. God opened up the door to speak to the United States Air Force. And I never looked back after that. And now on this side, our business has grown tremendously. But the one thing that I do, to answer your initial question, is I help people find their true value, because it doesn't matter if I speak here in the States, in Florida, in Hawaii, in London, in Asia, over 90% of people undervalue themselves. So because they do that, They never take the risk and live the life that God created for them, whether it's in life or business.
That's so good. And I think one of the interesting things that I heard you say, one, you took a big risk. You walked away from something where you were comfortable, established, and what you had said, you had the title that led to entitlement, which I believe also there's comfort, there's confidence, there's a lot of things that are tied up in that. What did you find in your transition from that identity of your profession and the transitioning going into the unknown? What was that transition like?
Painful, very painful. What people don't realize is first of all, entrepreneurship's a lonely journey. And one thing that I learned from that is I realize now that I'm on this side of it is that so many people make so many alibis and excuses that if they would stop believing that, they could live any life they want to live. And I have the authority to say that, right? I have the right to say that because I started my business, Ben, when my wife was diagnosed with stage 3 breast cancer. She had a double mastectomy. If anybody had a reason, A, to say, God, you're stupid, you're crazy, you're talking to the wrong guy, and B, right, I wasn't working, I didn't have any revenue coming in, there was no business. I mean, it was an idea. And C, it's like we weren't even sure what the hell we were going to do. But I started my business in lieu of those things, Ben, because I said, you know what, if God gave me this idea, I don't know where it's coming from because I had backslidden, right? I wasn't going to church. I wasn't a Bible thumper, but I said, it just hit me in my heart. I said, okay. Because I remember reading this email from this counselor and it said, who is this car guy? I was like, man, what did I do? Tell him my son is not the same. My son runs around the house yelling and screaming, I'm a winner, I'm a champion, I love myself. And tell him when my son puts on the Chevrolet cap that he just looks stronger and he loves himself more than ever. Tell him I said, thank you for changing my son's life. I found that email one day in my tie rack, 5 years after the event had happened. Because with Chevrolet, I would go give out these awards, and because I was the face of the Chevrolet dealership here in San Antonio, and we do commercials. And one day the principal said, you want to say some words, Mr. Gomez? I said, no, I just came here to take a picture and just give out the award, ma'am. I'm good. As I sat back down, I just felt a prompting in my heart, which was the Holy Spirit saying, don't you speak on attitude in your sales meetings? Talk about attitude. And I ignored it. And then my heart was racing 100 miles an hour. And I said, man, I can't ignore this. I said, ma'am, I said, I'll tell you what, I can speak on attitude if you want me to. Yeah, it would be great. I said, I can speak for like 10 minutes. 35 minutes later, I got 300 kids yelling and screaming, I'm a winner, I'm a champion, I love myself. And God reminded me of that event that had happened 5 years prior to my wife having breast cancer. And that email gave me the confidence to say, I can do this. And it's been an amazing ride. But to answer your question is that you have to kill that old identity. You have to turn back your back on your old life. Your new life is going to cost you your old life, right? Your new life is going to cost you your old life. And you got to put a rest. And so many of us, we leave that 9-to-5 job. We come into business, but we still try to operate or associate as that old identity from that 9-to-5er. And you got to kill that employee mindset.
Yeah. And when you talk about killing that employee mindset and really that transition that happens in the mind, what do you find to be most effective for helping people as they go through that process? Because I believe even just in the, in your testimony, what you shared with us is there's a massive opportunity expansion, where there's the most uncomfortability, the biggest risk, like you're leaving this money behind to go to another unknown area. So what is it for you that you found, in your business, your life, your experience, and also with the clients that you work with and people that you share your message with? What's the most important mindset piece to keep in mind as people potentially look transition from a employee mindset to more of an entrepreneurial mindset?
Was it for me? It wasn't the money aspect, to be
Mhm.
honest with you. It was more the relationships I had to sacrifice because I
Mhm.
knew that my car buddies that we used to go drinking a beer after work and the car dogs, right? Even though I ran the dealership, we would go there and it was the associations that I had to cut off. And it hurt. I cried, man. I remember like 3 or 4 months really into it because we launched our business. We registered it and everything legally January of 2020, 2018. And that was a day. And I just remember telling myself, people that I love are not going to get me where I need to go. They're just not, because they're not speakers, right? I mean, they're beer drinking, hardworking people, right? And nothing wrong with that, but they're not going to work. And I really had to make that decision to distance myself. And there was about a 3 or 4 month period that I was real lonely. And remember one day I had a massive just breakdown in the fact that I was just right. Because A, I'm not a car dog anymore. I'm not trying to rubber band back into it. Or B, you're in transition. In the middle is where most people give up and they rubber band back to who they were because you're lonely there. It's right. It's kind of the
Yeah.
analogy that I give people. It's like, right, you're the caterpillar coming, you're crawling, you've been doing okay, but now it's time to become that butterfly. In the darkness of the cocoon, when you're becoming right, when you're going through that metamorphic change inside yourself, and it's cold and it's lonely and it's dark, that's where most people die and give up and they go back to who they were. And it hurt because I didn't have the community yet on this side, the speakers and the coaches that I know now, the yourself and all these amazing events. It didn't exist because I didn't even know what the heck it was. And I remember one day I got so frustrated. I was so mad that I went downstairs and I just beat up the recycle bin. Like literally, we had a little green recycle bin that was so big, right? Maybe 2 by 3 feet. I just beat the crap out of it. I kicked it. I was so frustrated. And I was crying out to God, like, this is what you want me to go through? Like, for what? I can go back and make 150, 200,000 real easy. Like, I don't want this. And he didn't say nothing. And I was 99.9% sure that I was going to give up. I was going to cry and give in. And then my son calls me. He doesn't know what's going on. He goes, "What's wrong, Dad?" I said, "Nothing, man." He goes, "You're lying. I can hear it." I said, "I'm good, Jay." He goes, "What's wrong?" I said, "Nah, just this business thing isn't working, son. Then I'm gonna go back to the car business." He goes, "What are you talking about?" He goes, "Dad, stand up." I said, "No, Jay." He goes, "Dad, I'm not telling you. I'm not asking you. I'm telling you, stand up. Look in the mirror, Dad. What do you tell me?" I said, "I say you're a winner and a champion, Jay."
Mhm.
He goes, "Dad, winners never quit. Quitters never win. Remember, Dad, say it." "I don't want to, Jay. I'm not asking you, Dad. I'm telling you, say it."
Mhm.
And if it wasn't for God using my son that day, I wouldn't be here with you, man.
Mhm.
That's my little king, Julian. And I sucked it up. Didn't want to do anything, but I forced myself to go visit another business just to not be in my feelings, to take some form of action. And it wasn't the greatest action. I think so many times we listen to all these fake gurus and people who talk a lot of smack on Instagram and Facebook, and it doesn't have to be massive action. That's sometimes you just got to crawl. And I crawled myself to another business and I said, "You know what? I didn't give up. It wasn't pretty. It was ugly. And I showed up the next day, regardless of what happened the day before. And I was ready for another day." And I truly believe that was a pivotal breaking point that really pushed me to the level that the next level at that time in my life. And I remember I struggled to get to 5,000 in revenue. I couldn't even get to 5,000. Now we make that in an hour. But it's just, you got to go through those heartbreaks, and you have to really look at yourself and know that it's going to cost you something, right? We can have anything in the world that we want if you're willing to pay the price, Ben. I don't know who needs to hear that on your podcast, but you can have anything in the world that you want, but you have to pay the price. And I was just grateful that I taught my son that, and he got that, because where we used to live, there was a big old hill going up to his elementary school. And I remember I was tough on him sometimes, right? I mean, he would get off his bike, because he goes, I go, you're not going to walk it up. Go back down the hill. You're going to ride your bike up the hill. He goes, Dad, it's hard. I'm like, nope, come on. Winners never quit. Quitters never win. Say it, Julian. Winners never quit, Dad. Julian, look at me. Quitters never win, right? Yes, Dad. Say it. Quitters never win. I go, I want you to say that all the way up the hill. So I would wait for him, take him like another 5 minutes. And he did it. Little did I know that little kid, that little 6-year-old Julian, 10 years later was going to be that motivator to me.
Yeah, that's beautiful. And I think there's so much inside of that. And, whether it's entrepreneurship, I spend my time in real estate, where people are looking to invest and go like 100% in. I think what you're talking about, kind of that cocoon season and the opportunity where people realize, hey, I've made a commitment, and I don't realize getting into this what I was getting myself into in terms of the work, the responsibility, the lack of finances, resources that may or may not kind of show up. What I heard you say, the most important thing was you took action through that, like that one step of action. You had the blessing, the encouragement and support from your son, and then you took that next step. How important is taking action, even as you kind of said, counter to, a lot of people say massive action. Why is taking action just important to make progress and expand into a new season, a new business, a new opportunity?
Well, I'm going to take it even deeper, because so many people nowadays, it's like we've developed this subconscious filter of massive action, right? Because it's just, everybody says it, so everybody says it. What happens with that, the problem with that is you tune it out because everybody's saying it. So what I tell my clients is you have to take personal self-action every day. You have to personalize the action. No matter how small or how big, it's personal self-action. And sometimes it's not the biggest steps you take, it's the smallest steps that you take. It could be something minute, just the fact that you showed up and you did a post today on Facebook. Like I said, that day, it wasn't pretty at all. But imagine if I would have just stayed back in the office, in my feelings, I would have probably, who knows what might have happened. But the fact that I got in the car, went to another organization and let them know, hey, this is Daniel Gomez, and just marketed myself. And just that, God honors that. And sometimes God's going to test you, right? People, so many times people don't know the word. In what I mean by that is I always go back to Jeremiah 17:10 that says, I, the Lord, search the heart. I test the mind. And this is the key part that most people miss: to reward everyone according to their doings, to their deeds. You're going to be tested. Your dream's going to cost you something. Look at every successful person. I don't care if you're Tony Robbins, Steve Harvey, if you're John Maxwell, who you are, you're going to be tested somewhere along your dream. It's going to happen. And the thing is, most people don't pass the test, because I'll never forget, there's one thing that stands out to me when I read this in this book was Broadway will give you a cup of coffee, but Broadway won't give everyone a show stage, because most people ain't willing to pay the price. They're willing to pay for that cup of coffee on Broadway, but they're not going to pay, right? They're not going to pay for what it takes to get on that stage. And you got to really know that it's going to cost you the old you. It's going to hurt. And most people don't want to die to the old self. And it's just now on this side, I look back and I'm like, man, look at what I would have missed out on. I mean, the fact that I've been able to share the stage with John Maxwell and hold my own, I'll never forget that. It was in Atlanta, Georgia. And I've been a keynote speaker by that time, probably like 4 years, maybe already in full time. That's what I've done. And my assistant next to me she goes, what's wrong with you? I was like, she goes, are you nervous? I'm like, heck yeah, I'm nervous. She goes, why? You speak all the time. I'm like, well, yeah, I'm the keynote speaker, but I don't follow John Maxwell. And she's like, what? It was John Maxwell, Jesse Eitzler, the owner of the Falcons, Dave Meltzer, some other guy, right? All heavy hitters. And then Daniel Gomez. And God just said, just shut up and get on stage. That's all you got to do. I'll speak to you. I guarantee you by the end of that conference, everybody knew who Daniel Gomez Inspires was. We sold out of books. Our table was empty. And I remember telling my assistant, well, we have another day to go, right? Well, so was the coaching. I go, but all we had was a mock-up of our book, The Makings of a Millionaire Mind. We had a mock-up. It wasn't even a book. It was just a book cover. And inside it was another book. I said, can you sell this? She goes, yeah, I can sell that. I said, well, good. I want pre-orders. Let's go. Now, this is the thing though, Ben. The book wasn't even finished. The book wasn't even finished. And I'm not laughing because I was sabotaging myself because I was just like, who am I to write a book on the millionaire mind, right? Like I was just self-sabotaging myself. Now we get back to San Antonio 2 weeks later, we have 75 pre-orders. And now I'm committed because I owe people their book. And if it wasn't for that stage, that day, the way everything worked out, I would have probably never finished the book. But the fact that now we had 75 and wherever she was going, we had all these pre-orders. I had to finish the book. And now that became one of our biggest brands that we trademarked. Now we have our Millionaire Mind book. We have the audio book that just came out 3 weeks ago, which is doing phenomenal. Now we have our Millionaire Mind online program. When you go to the makings of a millionairemind.com, we have our 27 modules that are helping. They've already helped thousands of people already. And now we had our live boot camp that we had our second one where we had amazing keynote speaker, Dr. Rob Kelly and Brian Covey come in. And it's just been all because of a book and not giving up that day when I was in my feelings. So never underestimate, ladies and gentlemen, the ripple effect of the smallest step, the smallest action that you take.
That's so good.
That's why I don't listen to all this like massive action. Sometimes, yes, I get it, right? But people just want to sound like it gets old, right? Like rise and grind. I don't believe in that rise and grind BS, right? Listen to this again.
Unknown caller.
The smallest ripple, right? The smallest step you take, compounded ripple effect, can produce you millions. How do I know? Because I've lived it. Because if I would have given up that day when my son had called me, this would have never been done because I would have just quit. The ripple effect is powerful.
Yeah, that's so good. And what kind of the tagline for expand your business, your mind, and your heart. And with your expertise, what is the interplay between the mind and the heart, especially when you enter into these moments of, I'm up against the wall, you've got that choice to make. Hey, am I going to continue forward, persevere, make this work, or am I going to surrender? Am I going to quit? What do you think is more important, when you get to that point? How much of it is in the mind? How much of it is in the heart?
Well, I think they're related. It's right. So this is the key. If you don't open your heart, it's never going to change your mind. The intellectual part will help you, but you have to open your heart. It clearly states all issues of life come from the heart. For all things, protect your heart above all things. So when you have the right heart space, then the mind space is even easier because you activate that faith within you. But if you want to change your life, you have to do two things. If you really want to change your life, you have to change your heart and you have to change your mindset. And many people change their mind and they don't change their heart. And that's why they lose it within 2 or 3 years. We've all met people that have self-sabotaged. They get a big real estate deal and they're doing good. Then you see them 2 years later, they got divorced, drinking, alcoholic, had an affair, whatever, the business collapsed. I've seen it all because they didn't have the right heart, the right heart. They had the mind, but they're still not happy and they lost everything, right? What good does it do to gain the whole world if you lose your family? I mean, it's not worth it. And vice versa, you can have the right heart because I know, I mean, trust me, I know a lot of people that are close to me have the right heart, right? But they have the wrong mindset and they never invest in renewing their mind every day. So it takes both. It's a 50-50 because I've seen both. And when you really think the book, the tagline on the book is to give you the right heart, the right attitude, and the right approach, the right mindset to become a millionaire God's way. Because if you don't have that balance, then if it's all heart, right, then you still think in poverty, you still think as a employee. But if you have the intellectual of you have the right intellect, right mindset, well, you're still right, you're still angry, you're still resentful, and many times it's the shame, the guilt, the regret that we carry in our heart and our soul that keeps people from going to the next level. Because why? Because we feel undeserving, we feel unworthy. And then you reach a level of success where, right, your financial set point goes to a millionaire, right? You become a millionaire. And the next thing you know, you're like, I don't deserve this. Because nobody knows about all those little secrets that you stuffed under the rug. And then you self-sabotage because the guilt kills you from the inside out. So that's what I specialize in when we create millionaires.
Yeah, that's so great. And when you think about expansion, with your clients, for yourself, what is expansion? What does expanding, mean to you in this current stage of your business and your season? And why is that important?
Well, it's very important. Expansion is everything because if you're not growing, right? When you're green, you grow. When you're ripe, you rot. Let me say it again. When you're green, you grow. When you're ripe, you rot. And expansion is all about growth. And nothing is going to kill you first if you don't continue, right? You have to continue expanding. No one said you have to expand at an accelerated rate. You can expand at a pace that you know is good for you. But as you continue to expand, you continue to learn and grow and take in new information and challenge yourself. Because think about this, right? Expansion is like the Colorado River, which you're from. When expansion is like the Colorado River, it's flowing, it's powerful, it's moving, it has life in it. But if you think about expansion, that's the Colorado River, and then you get somebody that is right, not expanding, they're contracting, and next thing you know, what happens is they become that pond, and the pond water is stale, smelly. There's no inflow, there's no outflow. And the next thing you know, it starts to decay within an old self, right? Because if you're not being right, if you're not creating, you're disintegrating. If you're not growing, you're dying. If you're not progressing, you're regressing. So when you're expanding, right, the expansion is progressing. And when you're not, right, you're regressing, and you become that pond water that is stinking. Nobody wants to be around that. And then the thing is, think about a pond that's stale. A person, what does that person look like? Mr. Miss Know-it-all, bad attitude. They get stuck. They're not happy anymore. They try to cover it up. And one thing that I'm good at is I see people and I'm like, dude, like, you're not confident. You have a false self-confidence. What it not? I'm like, dude, like, I can see that. I can see right through you. I don't tell them that in front of everybody, okay? But when I talk to people, when God says, hey, he needs you need to coach that guy, and I approach them, of course, they're going to blow up like the goldfish, right? Like the clownfish, because they're like, no, I'm fine. I'm like, bro, I see behind all the material stuff, you're not happy. And they don't realize it because they never dealt with the other shame and guilt. So expansion is crucial. Expansion is like the Colorado River, fresh, inbound, outbound, inflow, outflow. And when you're regressing, when you're contracting, you're still, you're dead, you're stinky, and it's not good.
Yeah. No, that's awesome. And yeah, the water analogy is really powerful. And I think the commitment of continuing to refresh and replenish yourself with the fresh water, the investment, the taking in of books, content, just podcasts, anything like that, so we're continuing to, renew our mind. What is the most important thing you found for people to be committed to, renewing their mind, to continuing to invest in themselves? Because in the employee mindset, it's very transactional. In the entrepreneurial mindset, we've got to have this continual refreshment, this replenishment, renewing our mind every day. What does that look like for you, what in your business and for the clients that you work with?
Well, I'll tell you what, for me, it's the whole thing is you can't do it by yourself. You have to understand that you can't. And podcasts are great. I have a right. I mean, podcasts are great, audiobooks are great, but the one thing that people miss, especially because we came out of COVID, and I truly believe there's still a huge hangover out of that, is they're still stuck in that home syndrome where they're just working from their home. And I was stuck there. And the main thing you need is you need the power of the human touch. And one of my books, Sticker Shock, I talk about how powerful the human touch is. And it's proven scientifically. If you take a child, a baby, right? When you take a baby that's born, if you leave them there and they never have human contact, there's a great chance that infant may die. It's true. And that's how powerful the human touch is. And the second thing is, as the child's growing up and they have the affirmation from their mom, from their dad, and they're loved and they're affirmed, that child's confidence compared to the other child that's not affirmed, man, it's like, I mean, one's going to win and be a champion. The other one's going to be and have self-confidence issues. So I say that to set the foundation for, that's the whole reason I went to your event, to expand. They said, hey, coach is going to be there. I said, really? I go, man, well, I'm going to go up there, right? Because even I need energy. Even I need, right? I give out so much to my clients. Like, you need to surround yourself with people that have the same energy or even higher. And I said, wow. And this other friend of mine, Craig Siegel, was there. I said, man, well, I'm going to go and like, I need something they got. We'll see what comes up. But you have to put yourself in those rooms. You have to invest in yourself. And so many people are lazy. Well, then we just listen to the podcast. Hey, I'm not knocking podcasts. We have one. That's part of it for sure. But you have to put yourself in rooms that people that think bigger than you. You have to put yourself, right? If you just hang around with 10-cent minds and you're not hanging around with $1 million minds and multi-million-dollar minds and billion-dollar minds, you're going to miss it. And when I left when I left there, I was like, I felt energized because just the frequency of everybody there was great. And I needed that juice. And then next thing you know, you hang around with Coach Burt for a while, and he's just a loving guy, and he just rubbed off on me, and he gave me that injection that I needed, because we all need it. But if I would have watched it online, it wouldn't have had the same effect if I would have gone in person. And then I met great people like you. So you can't undervalue. One event can really change your life. And people don't see that. They're too cheap, right? They're too cheap in the fact they don't want to make investment in the gas, waking up. Like, I woke up to be in Houston that day. I woke up, I said, right, I'm going to wake up at 4:30 because I want to get something out of Houston. I'm going to come back a different person because I need something. And that's my mentality. So when I went there expecting something, guess what? I received it. But many people were closed-minded, and we go in there like, oh, I don't like, this is stupid and whatever. You're right. You're closed-minded. You're not open to what God wants to give you. So you miss it. Oh yeah, it's going to be a waste of time because you didn't set up your mind and your heart to receive everything that was coming to you that day. And I left full, man. I was excited. I was just pumped up, but it happens because it's the power of the human touch.
Yeah, that's awesome. And note that I made contact leads to confidence. And that was one of my hopes. And one of the things that I know, and I'm in agreement with you, there is power in a shared experience. There's power in being in a room with people that are in alignment, just from the pure fact that they've invested their time, energy, effort, money, to be in that space. And, that's why I'm excited, grateful for you, the work that you're doing, and just knowing that there's so much unlimited upside and opportunity, because people just don't know, like you said, what God has in store. And I knew that was on my heart. It was, for anyone, my prayer for them, if they were in this room or any room that you get into, like there's always a divine connection, there's a word, there's wisdom, there's something that comes through this event that can radically transform the trajectory, of my life, of their life, of someone else's, even if I don't see it. And that's my biggest excitement, is like, I'm just excited for all the things that I will never know, see, or hear about, that may have come out of that event or a conversation or an interaction that we've had. So I just know the power of being in the room, power of being connected is really important. So I hear you on that. What do you find is the biggest thing that's holding people back from making that investment in themselves, or more from the perspective of that employee mindset to the entrepreneurial mindset of, hey, I've really got to start investing in myself, and that may look a little bit different. How do you share and impart that mindset and philosophy, wisdom, with the people that you work with and the message you share?
Well, the mistake that we make is many people, many Americans, they try to do it by themselves, right? They want to validate that they're worthy. They want to try to prove that, right? They want to seek approval. So they never ask for help, because it's a sign of weakness in our country. And I tell everybody, when you work with Daniel Gomez Inspires, I'm going to take you on this path, and you're going to become more than you ever thought you were. So when you work with me, it takes a mentor, it takes a coach to take you where you've never been, or to help you see the blind spots that you don't see. We all have blind spots. We all need a coach. I mean, I have 2 coaches right now, because that's what got me to where I'm at now. Because, right, I don't want to get stuck at the millionaire level. I want to become a decamillionaire, 100. I mean, that's where I'm going to go there. But you people, because I went through this in 2021, I'll never forget this. We're there. We had an event with Floyd Mayweather. We're on this yacht, and I'm looking at this house. I look over there. I said, man, I'm going to buy that house one day. And this guy just chuckled. He goes, yeah. I said, no, I'm going to buy it. Like, I'm serious. I'm going to have a house that way. That house, something like it. And I got back to the hotel room, started looking at pictures, and I was like, this guy can't buy the house. It was me. I didn't realize how complacent I had gotten. Had more success than I've ever had, more money in the bank I've ever had, trucks paid. I mean, right? I mean, financially, God has blessed us tremendously, but I got complacent. I got lazy. And this is a thing. I was working out, right? But I was going through the motions. And I said, man, if I'm going through the motions in my workouts and I'm just kind of maintaining, not even doing that, I said, where am I taking shortcuts in my business? We were generating profits. It's not that we weren't growing, but I said, what am I costing myself? And so I really had to, I looked at myself in the mirror that night in Miami. I said, you know what? I'm going to call Reggie, which is my trainer now, because Reggie had been on my tail to train me. I said, hey, bro, see you at my house Monday morning, 6 o'clock. What? I go, yeah, you've been wanting to train me forever. You going to be there or not? If not, I'll call somebody else. I'll be there. What happened? I said, no, are you ready to train me? Yes or no? Because I know at that moment, I didn't need the business wisdom. I needed a spark inside Daniel. And I said, if I'm taking shortcuts and being lazy in my workouts, then I'm doing it in my business, right? Because the way we do something is the way we do everything. The best thing I ever did in 2021 when I came back from Miami, that October, is I hired Reggie. He still trains me today. Then next thing you know, we doubled in 2022. We've had a record-breaking 2023. We made already more this first quarter than we did all of almost last year. And I don't say that. I say that because I want to show you what's possible. But I said this. I said, Reggie, I'm comfortable now at 3 workouts a week. I need you another day. What is it going to cost me? Okay, I said, great. Well, I said, I don't care. Just do it. I need you at my house. So now he comes 4 times a week to my house. And it challenges me, because the old Daniel, right, from 2022, man, I should just do 3. It's easier. Because that 4th one, it doesn't seem, but it's a lot mentally. But once you get in that mindset and you're committed to it, your body's right. You're pushing yourself stronger. You're pushing yourself harder. And I'm not as tired anymore. And I'll be 50 years old this year, and I look better than most 25, 30-year-old guys. Look at that. And now, hey, right.
That's
But
right.
I'm in good shape. I'm in good shape.
All right, man. No, that's
I can
awesome,
hold my
man.
own, you know?
Yeah, no, and I love that. I love that too. I mean, the way you do one thing is the way you do all things. And I think the powerful thing you said was, where are you costing yourself in the shortcuts that you're taking? Because whether that's in your personal life, when that translates into your business or vice versa. So it's a powerful note, little nugget there of wisdom for sure. But Daniel, man, time has flown by. I'm so grateful for you. I know you got a ton to get to. If people want to reach out, connect with you, where's the best place they can find you? Where can they find, learn more about the opportunity to work with you? Where would you like to send people?
Well, I'll tell you what, I want them to text the word millionaire. Yeah, millionaire, just millionaire to 210-942-5059. That's text the word millionaire to 210-942-5059. You're going to get millionaire affirmations. You're going to get inspirational quotes from us. And we're really just going to love on you and just inspire you every single week. And then they can send me an email directly at daniel@danielgomezspeaker.com. That's daniel@danielgomezspeaker.com. And I want to give you a complimentary 45-minute discovery session just to help you, whatever question we can ask for you, or maybe you're stuck in something, and I'd be happy to give that courtesy to your community Ben deal. And lastly, you can follow me. My brand is Daniel Gomez Inspires on Instagram and Facebook, and where we just love on people and help people become millionaires. So that's what we do, Ben.
Amen, brother. Hey, well, thank you so much. Grateful for your time, and excited to see what God has in store next for you. So thank you all. Make sure to follow Daniel, reach out to him, take advantage of these opportunities. The surprising thing is, even though Daniel just shared all the information with you on how to get in contact with him, very few people actually do. So the challenge and opportunity is up to you. Reach out to my guy Daniel and see what he can do for you in your life. Daniel, thanks so much, man. Grateful for you, and we'll see you soon.
Thank you, Ben. Thank you, everybody.